Being recorded.
All right, let's get into it. So today we're going to go over the common mistakes with agency lead generation. Between me and Lucas, we've booked thousands of meetings, and we've also worked with and consulted tons of other agencies, and we've really seen the patterns, the mistakes that hold people back from getting more leads and meetings. So can't wait to dive into it. Lucas, you want to just intro yourself real quick for anyone who doesn't know you?
Yeah, 100%. So AJ and I have been doing a lot of collaboration, partners on a lot of different things. And I got my background and my experience from scaling Twiz.io. We grew it as an agency first. And then over the last year, we built a SaaS product on top of it. And we're basically sharing everything that we learned getting to $1.7 million per year in revenue to the agencies in our community. And then even non-agencies, we still have a bunch of clients on the marketing agency side that we work with. And so we're here to help all types of businesses. So I'm excited to get into it. Yeah.
Me as well. So just introduce myself for anyone who doesn't know. I'm AJ Quesada, co-founder of a company called Revenue Boost, where we do consulting on B2B lead gen, sales, and agency growth. I actually started my career in the construction business. So like the total opposite of the online world, literally going door to door and selling house painting services, believe it or not. Then once I learned about online marketing, because I actually launched Facebook ads for that business, I was like, this is way cooler, way better. And I took what I learned from offline marketing, applied it to online. First ran an agency called Magic Clicks. Along the way, figured out a really good process for acquiring agency clients. And then we started Revenue Boost to teach our client acquisition strategies to other agencies. So yeah, all that boiled down between me and Lucas. We're going to share today the common mistakes with lead generation, because for me, a lot of times on a consulting call with the client, it's usually more talking like what not to do rather than what to do, because a lot of times we get too lost in like, we don't know what we're doing that's holding us back, or we're doing something that we heard online on an Instagram post that's not really fit for our business. So yeah, really just going to show you guys what not to do. And if all you did was not do these 22 things, your lead generation would work better. And obviously like the reverse of them is like what you should do. So hopefully this is super helpful, but avoiding these mistakes will save you tons and tons of struggle. Because I know me and Lucas have both struggled a ton in the beginning with getting our business off the ground. So you learn from our mistakes and finally feel like growing a client base is simple and repeatable. Aside from getting your business off the ground and having fulfillment dialed in, like knowing what you're giving to your clients and having that work, the main challenge in the beginning is just having repeatable client acquisition, right? Because so many agencies get stuck because they just get clients randomly, right? They just hope and pray for clients, or it comes from their network, which can get you off the ground, but that's not going to get you to 50, 100K a month or beyond. So really the biggest thing is just having a repeatable lead generation process. That's one of the main bottlenecks you're going to need to solve in the beginning. So the first common mistake I see, and from talking to tons and tons of agency owners, is they don't have a proactive growth strategy that can be systemized, which means either the business has inconsistent revenues because they're just reactive. They just take whatever leads come in from their network, referrals, events, that sort of thing. And it may work, but it also leaves them as the bottleneck for growth. So they can't like tell someone on their team, hey, go get leads from my network, go get leads from, go get referrals, or show up at events for me and market our business, right? So yeah, the biggest mistake I see is, a lot of agencies, they maybe get to 5, 10, 20K a month, and you can get to a decent place just off of your network, but you really need a proactive strategy if you want to grow further. And when you want to hire people and expand your team, you need to know that you can keep bringing in the money, right? For their payroll, right? So without having a proactive lead generation strategy where it's measurable and you know how it works, you're always just going to be kind of guessing, and you're never really going to know like what you're going to earn next year. So this is the biggest mistake, is just not having a proactive strategy and also being the bottleneck. For you, Lucas, any thoughts on that?
Unmuting myself. I think that so we kind of started off at the very beginning with LinkedIn, and now we have pretty much every single channel mastered. So from paid ads on Facebook or Google ads to YouTube and social and content. So, I mean, every single channel, it just makes it so much better from even a acquirer. If you were to ever sell your business, knowing that your business is on solid ground and has multiple channels of acquisition is really, really, really important. So what you want to do is when you find that one channel that you crush it in, you want to take the profits from that channel and diversify. Think of it just like an investment portfolio of any kind. So that way you have more scalability in the long run. So that's all I'd add there, but this is awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man, I like what you said about just also diversifying and having the business look valuable as well, because Yeah, if you guys have ever read Built to Sell, it's an awesome book. I read this when I first started Revenue Boost, and it was really great to get my thinking in the right place. But in Built to Sell, this guy is frustrated with his marketing agency, so he goes to sell his business, and the potential acquirer is like, "Hey, no one's going to buy this because all of the lead gen relies on you as the face of your business. You have no systems, and you're customizing your work for every client." So the book is all about going through like productizing the business and having consistent lead gen and all that. Yeah, it's another great way to look at it. Yeah, so that's really step one, is have a proactive strategy, and you just need one in the beginning. You just need one thing that works, and you can just keep doing that. I know Alex Hormozi talks about this a ton too, how he said most businesses can get to 7 figures with literally just one marketing channel, but they end up doing 10 that are mediocre, which I can totally, it's not listed here on the doc, but that is another common mistake of just trying to be everywhere too quick, So common mistake number 2 would be not using LinkedIn or email to grow your agency. So Jason, the book I referred to was called Built to Sell. Awesome book, like probably one of my favorite business books, and it's fun to read. It's told in like a fictitious story format. Yeah, definitely grab that book, guys. But anyway, common mistake number 2 is not using LinkedIn or email to grow your agency. Lucas, same for you. You started Twiz off of LinkedIn lead gen. I started my business also just with LinkedIn email, both times, the marketing business and also the consulting business. I think there's no better way to really get a business off the ground than outbound, because in my opinion, outbound is the fastest way to get something up. It's just not many moving parts. And also like really, I think in the beginning, you're just trying to test your messaging and your offer and your market, right? If you try to do a really complicated funnel, you have too many other things to test, when in the beginning, your goal is just to figure out like what message, what offer, and what market works. So with outbound, it's the simplest marketing channel. You just get to really focus on optimizing those pieces rather than having all these bells and whistles and doing paid ads or all that other stuff. And it's super, super cost effective. Yes, there's tools that help you, but you can literally go send people emails for free. So that's also cool. So yeah, I think outbound is really overlooked, and a lot of people rely on inconsistent or expensive channels, like going for paid ads right away, or going for, again, just relying on networking and referrals, which is inconsistent. Any thoughts on that, Lucas?
No, I mean, to be honest, it's for me, it's the CAC model for every channel needs to be fully understood. So
Yeah.
I mean, one thing that I always recommend people understand when they're growing their agency, which is what probably most people watching this are doing, is that you should take the total revenue LTV. So if your clients stay around for 12 months and they pay you $2,000 per month, that's $24,000. That's their LTV. If that happens, then you want to take that number, multiply it by 10%, which would be 2,400, and then divide that number by 5. And then when you get that number, that's the amount of money you can spend to acquire per lead. And then 10% of the 24,000, which is 2,400, that's the amount you can spend to acquire a customer. You need to start thinking in terms of, if you want to scale, you need to start thinking in terms of understanding that spending $2,400 to acquire a $24,000 client is not bad. That's actually totally normal. And you have to factor in the sales costs, the cost of all your software to get the lead, cost of marketing, advertising, everything. And just fully understand that and have that be something you monitor and track every day. Because if you're not, you're going to eventually spend too much or too little, which if you're trying to grow, spending too little is a problem. You need to actually spend money to grow, typically, unless you have some crazy growth hack, which does happen, but it's pretty often unsustainable. Usually you need to spend money over a long period of time to grow. So.
Yeah, for sure. I heard this quote before that was like, he who spends the most on marketing wins and beats the competition.
Yeah. It is.
No, well, I like how you talk about, most people when they talk about CAC, customer acquisition costs, they're just talking in terms of paid ads, but I like how you bring the perspective of like looking at all your channels the same way. So even if you're doing something free, like cold emailing people, you can still figure out like, what would I pay someone hourly to do this, and still think about it that way.
It's your all-in CAC. Yeah, it's your all-in CAC. And I think that's something that needs to be thought of. And again, you might not be closing clients because you may not be actually giving enough value to close them. Because think about it like this. This is something I'll end on before we move to the next mistake is there's a lot of competition, right? There's a lot of people who are trying to get the same clients. And if you're not spending anything, meaning you're not putting in extra time, money, or paying for extra value for that prospect to get them to close, the other companies are, right? And so you might not be
Right.
closing clients because you might just not be doing things that you're supposed to do to deliver the most value to get the customer, right? So
Mm.
you have to think about this stuff, right? When you're building it out, because it's a very competitive market. And if you're trying to scale, you have to be able to keep up with your competition. So it's not a bad thing
Sure.
to spend money. That's my main point.
Yeah. Spend more money or time, either way. Yeah, you don't have to spend
Yeah,
more
more
money than your
time.
competition, but more time to win over that client, right? That'll stand out as well. But yeah, awesome. So these are two more common mistakes I should add: is being spread thin and then not understanding CAC. I'll quote Lucas James on that. Cool. So common mistake number 3 is not properly marketing to higher tier clients that can pay more and retain for longer. And I know you got some thoughts on this, Lucas, because you've talked about the churn with small businesses. But yeah, honestly, like some of the biggest growth hacks I found is just working with clients that can pay more, right? Even if you're in a local market and a lot of businesses are really small, there's still a portion of that market that could pay more for your highest retainer. This just makes it easier to grow because it's just like a quick win, right? If you can raise your prices or sell a higher ticket package, you know?
Yeah, and also, I mean, I think it's very important to fully understand LTV in a different sense. There's a book called Never Lose a Customer, which is really good. And forgot the guy who wrote it, but if you look it up, it's the book with the red balloon on it. And the reason why it's so good is because it talks about how if you think about like your dentist or you think about, all these other businesses that you've probably used for a very long time, you probably have some kind of business that you've worked with forever that you've never actually stopped going to, right? And are you always paying that business a retainer every single time? No, you're usually paying them sporadically, but your LTV is basically infinite because not only are you getting them business, but you're probably referring them to other people and you're coming in for something really good over time. So what I want everyone to start thinking of is let's say you meet with 10,000 people this year, right? And you close 20% of the people you talk to. That's 8,000 people that would otherwise just go straight to your competition, right? The reason brands win so well online when they do crush it is because they capture most of the market, meaning that most of the people are coming and staying with them. They might not pay right now for something, but they could pay in like a year or 2 years from now. Also, but if they completely forget about it, they're not going to pay at all, right? Also, if they're working with you on a specific item, let's say they're working with you on just SEO, if they churn on that specific item, that does not mean that they've churned as a customer because they could just be downsold to a smaller thing, or they could stay free for like 2 months and then be upsold to like a smaller package in the next 2 months. So the LTV still sustains, but the only thing that's cutting the LTV off and killing the relationship is when you purposefully push that person out of the fold and you basically say, okay, you're gone now, and you don't provide anything for free to these people. Then yeah, you're basically cutting the relationship off. You need to find a way to keep them around forever. And that's how you build an enormous brand, basically.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so I think really the common mistake should be optimizing LTV as a whole, right? And having higher tier clients is just a way to do that, but there's a lot of different ways you can do that, you know? But yeah, awesome. Yeah, I think it is really underlooked. Yeah, I mean, ultimately the way I think about it is like, if someone doesn't buy from you, their problem still exists, right? So we kind of tend to forget about people that don't buy from us, but it's like, even though they didn't buy from us, they still have that problem. They're eventually going to go to someone else or you, because the problem will usually keep getting bigger, right? So it's like, yeah, there's a lot of also just missed opportunity if you just let those people get out of your world forever.
100%.
Common mistake number 4, and I hope you guys can see this while and are joining this Google Docs. I'm not really big into like PowerPoints and stuff, so I find this just a little bit easier. But yeah, so common mistake number 4 is trying to sell instead of starting a conversation. This can apply to sales call. This can also apply to your marketing or like your cold emails or whatever that looks like, your lead generation. In terms of at least lead generation, how this looks is sending a cold email or a LinkedIn message that's too salesy and is too much about your offer. And it's not actually starting a conversation and getting that person to engage with you in the first place. Because you can always sell them later in a sales call, right? But first you need to actually get a reply. So too many people, they try to like sell way too much in their outreach or their initial lead generation efforts. And that's why they just get ghosted all the time, right? Because people are like, oh, what is that? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any thoughts on that, Lucas?
I mean, again, I'm kind of like uh, a broken record here, but I think the whole try before you buy marketing approach solves this because
Yeah,
you're not selling anything. If anything, you're kind of just like playing into people's psychology because you know that if you literally give them no reason not to work with you because you understand their psychology and you understand when they're going to eventually cry uncle and be like, all right, I just need you to do this for me. Um, you're just winning because you understand customer psychology better, right? If you go to a party and you're trying to make friends and all you're doing is just like selling your MLM scheme, you're not going to make any friends, right? It's like pretty obvious. Do you like when that happens? Have you ever been to a party and like someone is just a network marketer and they're just selling you? Nobody likes that. It's just awful. Um, so you can't just go to people and be salesy. Like no one likes that. You have to play into their psychology, and that's really when people start to scale is when they understand customer psychology. So yeah, I think that's the main point there. It's just like read a book on psychology, or even read like How to Win Friends and Influence People. Like that's pretty good one.
yeah,
Um, and just understand like the triggers that are going to turn someone into a buyer at different points in the customer cycle, essentially.
for sure. So yeah, always aim to master sales because you'll always need that skill no matter what you're doing at any stage of the business.
Yeah,
Even if you hire a sales team, you still need to sell.
100%.
So cool. Well, common mistake number 5 is not using lead magnets, aka giving people a try before you buy option, and value-based prospecting. And value-based prospecting is just our strategy for like weaving in your lead magnets into your prospecting. For example, on LinkedIn, we'll start a conversation by giving them something rather than pitching our offer. So that's just kind of how we do that. It works really, really well, especially on LinkedIn when people are getting pitched left and right. But anyway, I'm going to let you talk about this, Lucas, because you are the lead
Yeah.
magnet king and you talk about it 10 times a day.
Yes. Well, I'll show a little bit of an example. I won't go into too much detail on this because I want to keep on this topic. But one thing I will share my screen, show you guys is
Yeah.
pull it up. So we have a document which we've been starting to give out. Anybody who wants to get in on the 5-day training, we have 5-day free training. Which if you want to join it, I'll actually put the link to submit a form submission here, or you can just email me and I'll add it for you. But we actually have a 5-day training around this. And actually, could you enable screen sharing really quick, AJ?
Yeah, sure. Um,
I'll put the link to this little workshop in the chat here for anybody who wants to access it. But that's free. And the idea is that you can basically join the webinar trainings, and there's 5 of them. They're pretty short, like 5 minutes each. And I go through each section of this, and this is basically what we do for clients. Like it's all everything we do for clients. But typically, when we close a customer, this is what we used to do in the past. I would have my customer management person onboard them and do everything I'm doing right now that my sales rep could have just done for them on a call. Uh, and what it does is it delays the gratification for the client, which you don't want to do. I mean, people are very into instant gratification. And so if you can get them to pay and they've already started on the campaign, and we've already started getting the meetings because we've already told them everything that we do, and they're making a much more informed decision, then they're going to be much more likely to move forward, right? And they're going to be much happier, and they're much more likely to share your business and share your brand, which is the only thing that matters is getting referrals. That's it. Um, so I literally break down everything and I show them all the stuff our team does. And what ends up happening is I just ask them a simple question at the end of it. And it only takes like an hour to go through everything. I basically just say, look, it may take you up to 8 hours a day to replicate the same thing that we do because we've spent the last 2 years, 3 years refining this process and making it amazing. Do you want to do it, or do you want us to take that off your hands? And when they say that they want us to take it off their hands, then we have a client because we're only optimizing around people who don't have the time to do this themselves. If somebody has the time to do this themselves, or they don't have the money, or they just for whatever reason feel like they can do it better than us, we don't want them as a client. I don't want these people as clients. If they're going to do it themselves better, why would I want them as a client? They're just going to be unhappy. There's no reason. So we just optimize around the people that we know are already going to work with us. And so we just start working with them at the beginning. We just literally, I start cold calling. I'll have my salesperson start cold calling for the prospect to give them a taste of what it looks like. We start sending messages out for them. All this is done for them, right? Before they pay us within like an hour window, which is so much more valuable than having them have their eyes glaze over listening to you talk about your business and like do a proposal and like a slideshow and all this boring stuff that no one
Yeah.
wants to hear. Like no one wants to hear that, you know? So because the pricing should be self-evident, right? If it's valuable, like people are willing to pay the money. They just want to know that you're not going to screw it up, right? Um, so anyways, that's my little rant, but I think that you guys should be thinking along those lines too. What's a work product you can give people before they sign up with you that shows your worth?
Yeah, absolutely awesome. So yeah, ultimately, just giving more upfront, whether you want to call it a lead magnet or try before you buy or whatever, is like the best lead generation hack. And we just barely see people doing this. People know lead magnets with paid ads, but you can really do this in your entire sales process. And I mean, for you, Lucas, you've basically built you built your agency to $2 million, and it's mostly been following the lead magnet strategy, right? Like most of your marketing and outreach has been around giving value up front first. Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, because we originally, we've always done it, but it wasn't until I actually launched the SaaS product and have these agencies that we talk to and workshop with that I crystallized the strategy that we're pioneering. Because beforehand I was just doing it, but I didn't actually know, I didn't really know that it was what we were doing. Like I didn't realize it. I just thought, because we would actually do video analyses, like Loom videos, SEO analyses. And that was a form of try before you buy, because it was a sense of like what we were going to do for them on the call. And it gave them more confidence. And the key word, and this is the thing you guys want people to start saying, if you're getting them to say this unprompted, then you found the right thing, which is you want people to say, I've never had anyone do this for me before, like for a sales call. No one's ever done this for me. That's one thing. The other thing is if you're able to give them so much value that they're willing to give you a video testimonial after going through the free process, then you're also doing something valuable enough. If they're not, that means it's not that valuable.
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah, actually, we had someone recently give us a testimonial because of how helpful the sales call was, just like you said. And I was amazed by it, but yeah, and then you're collecting like tons of social proof without even having clients doing the service, which is pretty cool. But yeah, that's how your sales process shouldn't be like boring or like annoying for the client. It should be like you're both getting value out of it,
Be unique.
Yeah, awesome stuff. Yeah, so the next common mistake is using lead magnets that aren't scalable, such as sending people Loom videos before seeing if they actually want it, or sending lead magnets that aren't valuable to the ICP, right? ICP meaning just the prospect, stands for ideal customer profile. So you might have a lead magnet that's not working or no one's saying yes to because it's just not valuable for them. They just don't care about it. Even though it's free, they still have to spend their time. So nothing's really free. And it has to be worth their time, which is, you can figure this out just by talking to your market or by testing different lead magnets.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's honestly amazing that people don't do this. I mean, in a world that everyone did try before you buy, then it would no longer have the same impact. It's kind of like finding an investment strategy, and once everybody realizes it, then it's no longer as valuable because everyone's doing it. It's the same thing with this. Like if in 5 years, every marketing agency is doing try before you buy, then I'm going to have to switch the strategy again. But right now it's great because so like only maybe 1% of agencies do it. So you have an enormous advantage just by doing it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe we should stop talking about it then, so that in 5 years we're still good to go.
Yeah. I know. God, I wish.
Well, somebody said that cold email in 5 years might get saturated too. No.
Yeah, very well could. Very well could.
Could, yeah. People say it about everything. I think. Yeah, I mean, it probably could get saturated, but I'm sure it'll still work. It'll just get harder, I guess, because if it's more. I feel like when things get more saturated, they still can work. It just gets harder because you have to find a way to stand out more.
Your margins erode. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, cool. So then, yeah, next I would say is thinking that generic templates and lists are enough instead of mastering the foundations and improving relevant skills. So I think this is a big one for lead generation, and it could apply to business in general. What I mean by this common mistake is a lot of people, they try, like I've had someone tell me the other day, oh man, I tried everything. I tried LinkedIn, I tried Facebook ads, I tried cold email. He listed like every platform on the planet. And he was like, nothing worked. And I was like, okay, it has nothing to do with your platform or your templates, whatever you're doing. You need to learn the skills. Like you need to learn the foundations of marketing and come up with a message that works. Because ultimately, I view any marketing channel as just a way to get a message to somebody, right? So if it's not working, it's because we didn't have the skill or the ability to like crack that formula of like the message to the market and all that sort of thing. So all that to say, I think a lot of people, they shortcut the process, right? Like they will maybe just download a cold email template online, try it and it doesn't work, and they don't know why it worked, or it does work and they don't know why it worked and they can't repeat it, right? So this is why just in general, I think we have to stop looking for shortcuts or like copying other people's approach, because it's always a band-aid, right? We can't get around like learning the foundations of marketing and how to write a message that gets someone's attention. So yeah, always just encourage people to really master, like in terms of lead generation, it's just copywriting, understanding your market, having a good offer, that sort of thing. So those are kind of the skills to build, I suppose, when it comes to lead generation. And anything you want to add there, Lucas?
No. That's actually perfect. I love that.
Cool. So yeah, always aim to just get better as a marketer rather than just trying to copy and paste and see, download a PDF and try it. Have to always understand like at the foundational level why things work. Common mistake number 8 is using stale opening messages that don't get responses, waste a bunch of time, and cause you to sound like your competition. So this is really more about outreach. So whether you're doing cold emails, cold calls, LinkedIn, you have the first 5 seconds to get someone's attention. And the worst thing you can do is sound like your competition. Every email I get is like, every other email at least, it's like, hey, I hope I'm not bothering you. My name is this and I work at this company and we offer this. Everything sounds the same and it's like, it's getting deleted immediately, So you need to kind of pattern interrupt, especially with all the competition out there. You need to just stand out and not have like a boring, stale opening message. So get creative with it, do something like we talked about earlier with a lead magnet or talking about that person's problems you found, whatever it is. But you can't have just a really like straightforward and stale approach because everyone's sending that type of outreach message.
I love the idea of pattern interrupt. I love that. That's awesome. Cause I think one thing that's changed my life is thinking of everything in feeds. So like thinking of emails. If you're sending a message to someone's email inbox, that's like a feed. And when you're on social media and you're trying to get somebody's attention, you're breaking into their feed through pattern interrupt. And it works because you're getting them to, like, any message I've ever sent that works because they've basically been distracted from what they're doing and put their attention to me. So yeah, thinking of your email as pattern interrupt too, as if it was a social media feed, is a very helpful way to do it. Like imagine if you're posting on social and all you were doing was just selling your service, you probably wouldn't get very many clicks,
Yeah, for sure. And a great way to figure that out is just looking at what other people do and being like, okay, I'm going to not do the majority of that because otherwise I'm just going to blend in. Like I even saw a Facebook ad once and it was in black and white. And I saw one that was upside down picture. And I was like, that's pretty cool. They just like did anything they could try to like catch my attention because it was different, So yeah, I think that can apply to all your marketing. So common mistake number 9 is sounding like your competition in every other cold pitch. Kind of ties into the previous one, but more about having an undifferentiated or weak offer and messaging. So again, we talked about messaging, but also your offer needs to stand out in some way, shape, or form, whether that's, what you're offering them in the outreach as far as like, hey, let's hop on a call, or hey, download this, or whether that's actually what you're offering them in the sales process on the call. So again, the more competitive your market is, the more you need to figure out how can I make my offer and my messaging stand out? Otherwise you'll just sound like everyone else. And you might get 1 out of 1,000, Jim's barber down the road just got the message at the right time, but you're going to miss out on a lot if you don't take that extra step to be a little bit more creative. All right. So next one is not personalizing or personalizing incorrectly without a good framework. So it takes so long. So yeah, there's a lot of talk in the lead generation world about like personalizing your cold email, like customizing the first line to that person to make it just not sound like a template or automated. So yeah, it helps a lot. We've seen with response rates when you personalize it, although this can take a lot of time. So a lot of people, they personalize it, but it goes wrong because they're just spending way too much time to write emails, and they're not, they're just like, they're not hitting the volume. Like sales is a numbers game too. So if you are going to personalize it and tweak your template to each prospect, make sure to do it in a really efficient way. Have a good framework where you can find something in 2 minutes, or have a VA do this for you. So this is, yeah, this makes a big difference, but it has to just be efficient. And it's also a pattern interrupter, right? If you send a compliment to someone in an email on the first line, that sounds different than every other sales pitch where it's just like the person just spouting off their service right away.
Love it.
Common mistake 11 is not knowing the principles of market sophistication, stages of awareness, and problem-centric language. So this kind of ties in earlier where we talked about, just trying to like shortcut and like find a template or copy someone's strategy rather than really understanding why marketing works and knowing that at a foundational level. So again, really just understanding the foundations. To me, these are the two things I think about the most, is market sophistication and stages of awareness. I'm curious what you think as well, Lucas, but yeah, for me, the quick highlight of this, market sophistication means the more sophisticated, the more competitive and mature your market is, the more sophisticated it is. You have to market to them differently than if you were in a brand new market. We have one client right now, one consulting client that has a SaaS company, and it's like an innovative HR SaaS for construction companies, teaching them to do something to make their business more profitable that they've never even heard of before. So it's like a totally new market, which is exciting, and it's actually working really well. They're closing 70%. They're closing like 70% of the leads that come in from cold traffic on cold emails. So it's like they have a really, really innovative and cool product. So in that case, sales could be easier, but it could also be harder if you don't explain it well, right? So the whole idea is like, you have to know where your market is on the spectrum, how competitive or not competitive, and have your marketing be adapted to that. And stages of awareness is more knowing the buyer's journey. So people are, first they have to be aware of their problem, and then they have to be aware of solutions. So like how this looks in lead generation is, a lot of people, they write their cold emails or their LinkedIn or their cold call, and they don't understand the stages of awareness, where people, again, they have to be aware of their problem first and recognize that problem before they care about solutions. So most people in their lead generation, they're just talking about their solutions, which alienates most of the market, because most of the market doesn't really know they need the solution of SEO or ads or whatever, right? Some people do, because they're farther down the buyer's journey in the stages of awareness. They've done that research and they're further into the process of shopping around, but most people aren't. So if you also make messaging that talks about problems, that's going to catch more people, because more people can relate to a problem, right? And then eventually you can take it on the path. Any thoughts on that, Lucas?
I think, just in general, like the whole idea around stage of awareness is directly related to the kind of product that you're building. So for instance, so when I take a meeting with somebody, I'll put them into a Slack channel, which we have our own private Slack channel for agencies, but we have like a general channel just for different kinds of businesses that I just put people into. And when you talk about stages of awareness, it's cool because if you position yourself as like a free resource that's always going to be there to help them, then you're super sticky, and then you can always be there at the exact moment that they need help, right? Because as we talked about earlier in this webinar, when you think about customer LTV, you need to think about it as like never ending. If your customer's lifetime is ending, then you're always going to be inferior to other companies that have limitless lifetimes with their prospects. And so in order to identify the correct stage that they're in, one of the best ways to do that is just continue to have a relationship with them. And if you do continue to have a relationship with them, then you're basically going to always be able to identify where they're at in that journey, as opposed to guessing. Like when you go out and just hit people randomly every 6 months, you're just guessing. And how often are you actually right? I mean, it's pretty rare. So.
Yeah, so that's where communities can come in, is what you're saying, because you kind of keep people in front of you all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Jason, any thoughts so far? Anything that's really like sticking with you? There's a lot here. So
yeah, there's a lot. It's really good stuff. So one thing that sort of stood out was when you said there's a SaaS company that's converting 70% of leads.
Yeah, they're closing like crazy.
What like they have some very unique product?
Yeah, so what it is, it's actually my old boss that created the company. And basically it's what they're not really selling the SaaS tool, they are, but what they're really selling is a new way to manage your laborers, like your workers, right? Labor, just say laborers because it's like in the construction industry. Where basically what they do is, the problem with paying employees an hourly basis is they're not motivated to finish the job faster. So a lot of contractors have super low profit margins, right? It's a tough industry. So a lot of workers like slack off because they're just milking the clock in that industry because they're just getting paid hourly. So he essentially created like a bonus program, a bonus program that motivates your workers to finish the job faster. And then it splits the savings. So if they finish the job faster, they get a raise and you get a savings as well on your labor, which is pretty awesome. So it's like a totally brand new idea. He did it for his own construction business and he created the software for his own business to manage it. So he's basically selling this new way of managing your workers, and the software just makes it easy.
So
It's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, it makes me think of two things. First, there was a guy named Clint Riley who became very, very wealthy rebuilding after the earthquake. And he would just incentivize his workers to finish early, like with small bonuses. And he was getting paid like $500,000 a day or something for every day they finished early. And he'd give them like $100 each. And he'd give them like $100 each. But more pertinent to the marketing, makes me think of an interview that I heard with, do you guys know who Anik Singhal is?
No.
On his podcast?
I've heard of him, but
yeah, he's like a big email marketing guy, learn.com or learn.co. Look up Anik Singhal, Singal. He's got books out on email marketing stuff. But anyway, he did a podcast with the guy who founded, it was Jarvis and now it's Jasper. That's the AI writing tool, content writing tool. And the Jasper guy was saying like your job is so much easier if you have a product that basically sells itself. Like there's still a lot of stuff you got to worry about, but if you can find like a product or service that pretty much sells itself, it's it's not like a uphill, it's like a downhill climb, which is kind of obvious in a way, but he was kind of making that point that like find the offer, find the service, find the product that kind of sells itself, because there's still plenty of stuff you're gonna have to deal with in business. So it's kind of interesting.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned that in our conversation the other day too. Yeah, there's always so like just reducing the uphill battle by having a better or more unique product in the first place, or just something that sells itself.
Or offer, or maybe it's the offer. Maybe it's like you didn't really invent something new, but your offer is so compelling, or you found a niche that really needs what you're selling, that it's not like the constant. Because like one of the things that why I'm trying to diversify away from my real estate is it's just an uphill battle. Like you're sending thousands of letters trying to get like a single homeowner to talk to you, and you're competing with all these real estate agents, so it's like, finding something that's a little bit easier to sell.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, business is already hard enough, right? So might as well eliminate that problem. Yeah, that's another common lead generation problem. It's just not having a great product or offer in the first place, right? You're gonna have to do way more marketing to just to keep up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting in those markets that are less sophisticated. Like I said, my friend who has that totally new, the idea of paying people bonus for finishing early isn't new, but the way that they structure it in the SaaS tool is like, they kind of gamify it for laborers, which is quite interesting. But yeah, I think really takeaway for the viewers is just, doesn't mean a newer market with a unique product is better than a competitive market. It's just, they just require different types of marketing. The one on the left is more educating, right? So if it's like with their problem is they're going to have to educate people so much on why they need to change how they incentivize and give bonuses to their workers. Yeah, it just means knowing the market and knowing how to advertise differently, and having a great product in the first place, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You can't really outmarket a shit product. People do that, but then eventually they go out of business or it catches up to them. So next one is sending outreach messages that are too long, over educating or selling too much. So, Lucas, I know we look at this all the time. People's cold emails or their LinkedIn message just super, super long, and no one's gonna read that when they're talking to their whole inbox,
100%. Yeah, just keep it to like 4 sentences max. Single line sentences are usually good. Just keep it simple. If you can do it in like 2 sentences, that's great. So
yeah, for sure.
Keep it easy.
Yeah, your reply rates will skyrocket. Someone had messaged at HC Go recently, and they said that they tried making their emails less than 50 words after I said it in a training, and they got like 6 new clients, like really fast.
Right.
Crazy. Just make it shorter.
Yeah. Huge growth hack. Huge growth hack.
I know, right? It is harder to write shorter though. It's funny. You think it'd be the opposite. But it's harder to be concise sometimes. The next one is not knowing how to laser in on the perfect clients. Therefore getting leads that are not ultra qualified. So this is a really important lead generation strategy, or just more like principle, is you have to A, know who your ideal perfect fit clients are, and B, know how to find them, know how to laser in on them. I find a lot of agencies, they're just selling everything to everybody. And that's problem number one, right? But yeah, any thoughts, Lucas? I mean, you've talked to tons of the agencies. What do you think about the whole niche thing and like being able to laser focus?
I mean, I think for me, the biggest thing I always try to tell people is like, it's, you either have a service niche or a client niche. So you might have an audience that you make a lot of profit from, and they get a lot of results, and you want to stick to that because you have an X advantage in that specific market. You might have the same advantage in a service if you do video production or email marketing or something, and you want to stick to one of those because you think you can become the best by far in that niche. Then I think, it makes sense to focus in on just one prospect type. But sometimes it doesn't really matter. Like it just really depends on what that arbitrage opportunity is that you're killing it on. So
yeah. Any tips on how people can find that? Like if someone's doing a bunch of things for everyone,
yeah,
what would you say?
I think it really comes down to profit margins. So if you look at your profit margins when you're growing your business, and you're finding that there's some personas that are more profitable than others, it's more to reinvest, and it's better for the companies. So if you're finding one that's like doing way better than the others, I recommend sticking with it. But if they're all equally profitable and you're generally very profitable, it doesn't really matter. You could just stick with those and keep your profitability. So I would just look at like bottom line profit every month and just assess it.
Yeah, easy. Let the numbers tell you what to do. But yeah, and then the other thing too is when you do laser in on at least who the perfect client. I know this is Corey Quinn's whole big thing too. Is he's like grew that company massively just by helping them niche down. But when you laser in on a whether it's a niche or whether it's a service or whatever, to me you just get better faster, right? Like I've had major shiny object syndrome. And when I finally learned to focus and just do one thing, like I just saw I got way better at it faster, which makes sense, right? It's like if I was, I don't know, back in like high school and I decided to play every sport, I mean, I'm not super athletic like that, but if I could do that, I'd be worse off than if I was to just play basketball and like become amazing at basketball, right? So like we only have a certain amount of energy, so when you do less, you just get better at it faster.
100%.
Next common mistake is not knowing the difference between an ICP and buyer persona and having it written down. So ICP is your ideal customer profile, also called a customer avatar. Buyer persona is the same thing, but it's about a person. So basically you need to know like, what are the companies that I want to be working with and know the characteristics of those companies and really seek to understand them. And the next one is, what is the person at this company? Is it the marketing director? Is it the owner? Is it the HR manager? So yeah, it's going to be harder to generate leads if you don't know like what companies are you trying to reach and who are the decision makers there.
Right.
And actually writing it down. Another common mistake is skipping market research. Again, this is why a lot of people, they rush into generating leads, taking a template off of Google without really understanding like how to go about their campaign. You have to be clear. And I'd say just these 4 things are really helpful. The core problems your target market has, the desires they have, the priorities they have, which is kind of like desires, but priorities is more like what are they focused on at their job that matters the most. And then the industry jargon, when you can say like a technical term that your target market knows, then you appear as an insider, right? And that's why it's important to niche down so you can really know like the nuances. So yeah, those are at least 4 things. I mean, when it comes to market research, if you can understand those 4 things, you're good enough to have really effective messaging. But a lot of people ask me like, hey, AJ, how do I write better copy? And I mean, one thing I've learned is copywriting isn't about like being this amazing writer. It's about like just doing the research and knowing your market, and you kind of fill in the blanks,
100%.
But yeah, don't skip the market research, because if your messaging isn't working, it's because you probably just don't understand that, like what matters to that market. Any additional thoughts on that, Lucas, or is that, you think that covers it?
No, I think it's good. It's good. Yeah.
Cool. Mistake number 16 is giving up too early and not having a follow-up procedure that works. Doesn't sound salesy. And this causes businesses to lose potential clients, to slip through the cracks and work with your competitors. So giving up too early, meaning like, you know, serving someone one ad or one email or one call and then just forgetting about it, rather than following up repeatedly until you get, you know, that person moved through the process. So a lot of people, they just don't have a system for following up without actually being like, you know, salesy or whatever. And they just lose a lot of potential clients. Because like we talked about before, if someone doesn't buy from you or doesn't take a meeting, they're eventually going to take a meeting and buy from someone else, right? And we all hate that feeling of hearing from a prospect, hey, I went with your competitor. Or like, that always stings a bit, right? So yeah, a big part of that is just following up and showing up. So I like to think of it as having a procedure for following up. Like, how often do we follow up with this person, and having it actually be like, you know, written out and someone is accountable for it.
100%.
Yeah,
I've actually got to hop off, but I will let you take care of the rest, because I know this is really fire. But I just want to say, for anybody who's watching the webinar, just if you guys want to jump in to the training, we have a 5-day lead gen training. Just go to the lead workshop sheet there and then click on opt in, and there's a little form you can fill out. And then from there, you can hop on into the 5-day free training. It shows you exactly how to do everything we do to prospect in our company. And it's been great, man. I really appreciate these. These are awesome. And you know, if you guys ever have any questions for either of us, feel free to hit us up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and if you're watching this somewhere on social media after and you can't see the Zoom chat, just message me or Lucas. We'll get you the worksheet and the 5-day training. All right, see you, dude. I'll wrap up.
All right, see ya.
Cool. All right, I'll speed through these recipes. So another common mistake is delegating too early. A lot of people, they hire a VA or a lead gen agency, and this causes a lot of missed revenue before they figured it out themselves. So you could definitely hire people to help. That's the whole idea. But first, like, go through the process of generating leads yourself so that you understand it and you can actually hire the right person. So don't delegate too early. I've seen people, so many times people have a brand new business and they're trying to just delegate all their lead gen and sales right away, and it doesn't work. You need to actually figure out how that should look first for your business. Then you can pass it off to whoever you'd like. Another mistake is only automating their lead gen and outreach, not actually testing manual one-to-one outreach. So automating is great, and we definitely do that, but you should also try out like the whole quality first approach of maybe having a handful of companies that you reach out to one by one, and you personalize the message, you do more research on them, and you have more of that like thoughtful, personalized approach. This works really well because, again, it helps you stand out if you can personalize a message rather than just have a generic template that goes to everybody. They both work, they both have their place. I do recommend you have both in your strategy, but yeah, I mean, if you're trying to reach out to like a really big influencer or someone hard to connect to, it's not going to work very well with an automated template. It's better to have a more like customized message for that person and show that you did your homework on them. Another common mistake is thinking that more appointments will solve a conversion issue, having a leaky sales process. So I've noticed tons of agencies, they have a leaky sales process where like they're getting a lot of leads, but they're losing a lot of deals and sales, and they're, you know, they have parts of their process that are causing them to just miss out on clients. So yeah, lead generation is important, but you also need to make sure you can at least close 20% of the prospects that you have a call with that are fit for your offer. And usually this is down to like the pre-call process, the actual call itself, and then how you follow up in the post-call. So again, don't just think about leads, also think about how you're going to, you know, sell and how you can optimize your sales process. Because otherwise you'll have lots of missed opportunities and lots of prospects that just ghost you. Next common mistake would be customizing every offer and getting stuck with low profit margins and stuck in fulfillment. And a lot of times this is because a lot of agency owners, they don't have a targeted LinkedIn email or outreach strategy. So or just in general, like we talked about earlier, they don't have a proactive strategy to get clients. So they just take whatever business comes to them and they just kind of customize their offer based on whatever people ask of them. And it's really hard to scale that way because you're just having like a custom shop, right? You're not really having a standardized business. So, and even though that sounds like a fulfillment problem, it's also related to a lead gen problem because how you generate leads affects the rest of your business. Next common mistake would be lacking credibility, content, and authority. You don't need to become like a big influencer. Not everyone wants 1 million followers, but have at least some basic web presence so that if someone does look you up, you look legit, right? People are always wondering like, is this guy legit or is this guy or girl legit? So you don't need to go crazy, but make sure that if someone does check you out before a call, that they like what they see, and it at least kind of covers the bases, right? Last common mistake would be not testing all variables and experimenting with new offers, messaging, angles, and audiences. So yeah, I mean, to me, I just look at marketing as a series of experiments, and it makes it just more fun. It's like, you're not trying to just have a campaign that just wins on day one. You're trying to just keep testing, right? You don't really know what offer is going to work for your market. You don't know what message is going to work. You just have to keep trying and trying and trying and measuring the results. And eventually the market will tell you what worked, because you'll just see what's bringing in the most revenue. So yeah, you have to be always constantly testing. Even if something's working, still test and see if you can do better. So yeah, marketing is all about testing and experimenting and iterating. Anyway, guys, I hope that was helpful. That's it for the webinar today. Again, we just shared that 5-day free training in the chat. You can also join our Facebook group, B2B Sales and Marketing Secrets, for more free training like this, or reach out to me. And if you want to book a one-on-one sales strategy call to go over, which of these mistakes are you making and how can we help you fix it? But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this training. Jason, any final thoughts or questions? Looks like it's just me and you.
No, this has been great. Yeah. I
Awesome,
guess
dude.
one thing that you didn't really discuss here, but as a strategy, what about doing some stuff that gets you kind of maybe noticed in the media a little bit and then attracting clients that way?
Yeah, I think that's a great, really important strategy. I guess that kind of ties into common mistake number 21, which is lacking credibility or authority or content. So we could even write like PR there. But yeah, man, I think I think a lot of agencies don't even think about media or PR, and it's really important. What do you see as the main benefit of media? The credibility or something else?
Yeah, I think you're sort of seen as an expert sometimes. You get exposure, you get credibility. Like, I think I told you I did some stuff, but I was in the real estate business, but I did some stuff that back then, I think if I had an agency, I definitely could have exploited has a negative connotation. I mean, taken advantage of to get like clients, of all the exposure that I got for like my scavenger hunt and stuff like that I did, but I was 100% in the real estate space back then, so I wasn't thinking that direction. But I think you're kind of seen, it kind of ties in with the authority, right? Like, you're seen as more of an authority because you were in the news or whatever.
Yeah,
I think that there's something to be said for that, for sure. I have to talk to a friend of mine about how they're getting clients. I've haven't really asked them point blank, but I know that they have some big, like, Fortune 500 clients that pay them 6 figures a month for his agency, and they're just kind of referral based. So I'm sure you've heard of agencies doing like really huge retainers like that.
Yeah, like huge retainers.
Like 6 figure a month retainers from Fortune 500 companies, right?
Yeah, for sure. I wonder what your friend's offering, but yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah, so I don't know, like, it's but they get them from referrals apparently. But yeah, no, good stuff.
Yeah, awesome, man. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. I think we'll end the training there.
Yeah.